Have you ever woken up suddenly in the middle of the night between 3 and 5 a.m.? Do you feel curious, perhaps even a little restless, wondering why you woke up for no apparent reason? Today we're going to explore something truly fascinating, inspired by the words of Pope Francis. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss this incredible journey into the spiritual significance of these mysterious hours. Did you know that many spiritual traditions consider this specific period of dawn to be a sacred time, a time of silence and deep divine connection? Pope Francis calls us to reflect on these hours as a special summons from God. But what could he be trying to tell us? Why exactly these hours? And how can it change your life? Throughout this video, we'll delve into 7 reasons why God might be calling you at this exact time of day. Are you ready to unravel these mysteries? Perhaps by the end of this video, you'll realize that these awakenings are more than just coincidences, are invitations to a more intimate encounter with the sacred. Stay with us, explore these signs, and discover how these small interruptions in your sleep can be loaded with profound and transformative meanings. Let's go. Imagine this moment. The house is completely silent, the streets are deserted, the whole world seems asleep. But suddenly you wake up between 3 and 5 in the morning, without any obvious explanation. Maybe it was a strange dream, or a simple, sudden awakening. You look at the clock, confused, and wonder why this happened. However, what if this moment is not a coincidence? What if God is calling you? A soft, almost silent call to something greater, to something sacred. Between these early morning hours, there is a silence that is difficult to find during the rest of the day. The distractions that normally surround us, obligations, responsibilities, commitments, disappear. It is a moment where the soul can breathe, where you can disconnect from the frenetic rhythm of the world and connect with what is eternal, with what transcends. And in that silence, God may be waiting, with a loving invitation for you to talk to Him. Prayer during this time is not just a routine religious practice. It can be a powerful form of intercession, a true bridge between heaven and earth. Perhaps God has awakened you to pray for someone in need. You may not even know who that person is. Someone who is going through a silent struggle. Someone who needs spiritual strength or even a miracle. God sees what we cannot see, and sometimes He calls us to be invisible intercessors. Imagine for a moment that you are the channel through which a life can be changed. A prayer you pray in that moment may be the answer that someone on the other side of the world, or perhaps in your own family, needs. Perhaps a soul is struggling in silence, a person facing an intense spiritual battle, and God has chosen you to be the one who raises a barrier of protection, an invisible shield of faith through your prayer. Prayer in this special moment is not just a dialogue. It is a weapon of light in the spiritual realm. Furthermore, this awakening can be an opportunity for you to connect more deeply with the Creator. In moments of absolute silence, when the world is asleep, your spirit can hear the still, gentle voice of God more clearly. Perhaps He has a special word for your heart, something you might not be able to hear in the midst of your daily rush. These sacred moments can be filled with the wisdom, revelation, and comfort that only the silence of the early morning can bring. It's not just about speaking, but also about listening. So often during the day, our thoughts are so full of noise that we don't notice the gentle, loving voice of God calling us. But in the early hours of the morning, when our hearts are still calm, He may whisper something deeply personal, something that will transform the course of your day, or even your life. God sees the perfect opportunity to draw near to you. He doesn't need to shout to be heard. In fact, He prefers the whisper, the gentle voice that resonates deep within your soul. It is in these moments of stillness that you can feel His touch, hear His voice, with a clarity that the hustle and bustle of everyday life usually does not allow. God, like a caring Father, knows your heart. He knows your anguish, your doubts, and the battles you face. He knows the prayers you pray in silence, and the dreams you keep secret. and that is why he wants this time of communion. Not just to hear his words, but so that you can also hear what he has to say. Maybe it is a word of encouragement that you need, or some direction for something that seems hopeless. Or perhaps it is just a gentle reminder that you are not alone. These silent hours of the morning are often a battlefield where spiritual forces clash. Forces that try to divert you, oppress you, or influence you in ways that you may not even notice during the day. You may feel a weight on your chest, an unexplained restlessness as if something is trying to disturb your peace. These are signs that something bigger is happening in the spiritual realm, and God is calling you to take a stand. Waking up at this time is not just a coincidence. It may be that God is awakening you to resist these spiritual influences that seek to weaken your faith, discourage you, or even distance your soul from the divine purpose. Prayer, in this context, becomes a powerful weapon. When you bend your knees, when you cry out fervently, you place yourself on the front lines of a war that is beyond human eyes, but that is real and urgent in the spiritual realm. But God may also be calling you to fight not only for yourself, but for those around you. How many people are facing silent, unknown battles without the strength to fight for themselves? Perhaps it is for them that you have been awakened. God, in his mercy, sees the pain, the suffering, the struggles that many are experiencing, and he entrusts you with the mission of intercession. Your prayers, said in faith and with authority, can be the shield of protection that these souls so desperately need. There are times when God, in his infinite wisdom, calls us to stop. In the midst of the rush of life, when we are constantly on the move, he wants us to slow down, to take an intentional pause. He knows that the frenetic pace we live can distance us from him, from ourselves, and from the true purpose he has given us. So in these moments of silence, when the world around us seems to be asleep, God calls us not to action, but to reflection. Imagine this scenario. You are awake in the middle of the night, your heart restless, your thoughts wandering from one side to the other. Perhaps it is at this moment that God is whispering to you, slow down. He does not need you to rush or give immediate answers. Instead, he wants you to reconnect with what really matters, to look inside and realize where your heart is. This is an invitation to reevaluate your paths, your decisions, your dreams. Many times we get lost in the speed at which life moves. We are so worried about what we have to do tomorrow, about the commitments and demands of the day, that we forget to stop and ask, what really matters? God, in his grace, wakes you up so that you can have this moment of peace and reflection. This is not a call to despair, but to renewal. He wants you to see the beauty that may be getting lost in the chaos of routine. When God asks you to slow down, he is giving you the opportunity to find your balance again. This is the moment when you can take a deep breath and feel the peace that only he can offer. The silence of the early morning is a space where you can let go of the weight of expectations and simply be. Be who you were created to be. Be in the presence of God, without rushing, without distractions. This is healing for the soul. The reflection God invites you to do is more than a superficial analysis of your life. It is a deep introspection, an opportunity to ask yourself, am I living the purpose God has given me? Am I moving toward what he has for me? Too often, we are so busy trying to control every aspect of life that we forget that God has already prepared a path for us. He knows the beginning, the middle, and the end of our journey. And when he asks us to slow down, it is because he wants to remind us of this, that he is in control, that his plans are greater than ours. This is also a time to reconnect with your purpose. Maybe you have drifted away from what once filled your heart with passion. Or maybe the worries of the world have drowned out the dreams God has planted in you. Now in the silence, he calls you to return to what is essential, to rediscover the plans he wrote for your life from the beginning, to remember who you are in his presence and what you have been called to do. Gratitude has immense power. It changes our perspective, making us see life with softer eyes, with more faith and hope. Waking up in the middle of the night, at this sacred time, can be God's reminder that Despite whatever difficulties you are facing now, He has already done great things in the past, and He is not going to stop there. As you reflect on all that God has done, you find strength and courage to trust in what He will still do. When you remember past blessings, you reconnect with God's faithfulness. He has never abandoned you before, and He will not abandon you now. These reminders of His works give you peace in the present and hope for the future. Sometimes God wakes you up so that you can bring to mind His promises, remembering that He is always working for you, even when things seem difficult. Sometimes we are impatient. We want to see immediate results, ready-made answers, and paths already defined. But God, in His perfect timing, often calls us to a process of preparation. He knows that in order to face what is coming, whether a blessing or a challenge, our faith must be solid, our hearts ready, and our thoughts aligned with His will. Waking up in the middle of the night can be a sign that He is beginning this work in you, a work of transformation and strengthening. He doesn't just want you to get through the next phases of your life. He wants you to be prepared to live through them with unshakable confidence and faith. Maybe you are about to face a challenge, or maybe a great opportunity is just around the corner. Either way, God doesn't want you to enter these moments unprepared. That's why He works on you now, in the stillness of the early morning, adjusting what needs to be adjusted, strengthening what is still fragile. So when you wake up between 3 and 5 in the morning, don't see it as a simple awakening. See it as a divine invitation, a call to prepare. God is shaping you for something that goes beyond the ordinary, something that only He can see, but that He is already preparing for you. Trust this process, because what He has for your life is greater than anything you could ever imagine.